There's so much pressure to a degree that parents put on themselves to make this happen. And there's also kind of the keeping up with the Joneses thing as well. It is expensive just to get in the park at Disney. Then you have hotels and airfare and on down the line.
Keeping up with the Joneses, that is absolutely insane. Welcome back to another reaction video, and I am fired up to show you this video from CNBC about how Disney vacations became too expensive for many Americans and they are taking out debt just to go on it. And I've been a fan of Disney World for a while, and I've been there probably 4 or 5 times now, and I want to hear what CNBC has to say about Disney vacations, because when my family and I went to Disney World last year in Orlando, it was absolutely packed, but everything got so expensive. Was it fun? Sure. But am I going to visit Disneyland or Disney World every year? Probably not. But anyway, let's listen to CNBC and hear what they have to say. So with that said, let's get right into it.
Disney World and Disneyland, the quintessential American vacation.
There is something about the energy in a Disney park at dusk that is, I hate to use the word magical, but there's something about it.
A place where magic comes to life, where childhood memories are made.
Yeah, that's still true. I never got to go to Disney when I was a kid because my parents couldn't afford it, and that's okay. And I still turned out pretty good, right? And when I went to Disneyland for the first time, it was when my daughter was 2 or 3, but I felt like, this was more for me because she wasn't going to remember everything that happened from that trip as a 2-year-old, right? We all grew up with Disney, no matter how old you are right now. We all watched The Lion King, Aladdin, Toy Story, and many more. So when you go to Disney with your kids or by yourself, if you don't have any kids, you still feel the magic vibe because you watched those movies probably 100 or 1,000 times as a kid, right? And I still got a bunch of pictures with Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and other characters because I didn't get to do that as a kid. And I wanted to feel like a kid again, visiting Disneyland or Disney World as an adult. And it was great to see my daughter smile when she was with those characters.
Disney's park prices are up more on average than in a normal year. And a one-day base level ticket to Disney World was averaged $89 in 2012 and averaged $147 in 2022. And that the growth rate of that cost has been about 5% annually.
But in its Q3 2024 results, Disney reported disappointing park numbers, with operating profits dropping 3% year over year, a concerning trend from one of the company's biggest moneymakers, and another blow to a stock that's down more than 15% in 6 months.
100%. When I went to Disneyland for the first time in 2014, it was well under $80 per ticket because the Air Force Base I was stationed at would sell Disneyland tickets at a veteran rate. And now, even with the military rate, it's still costing me like about $200 or more per person for the 3-day hopper or something like that. You would think Disney is making a pretty good profit from this, but they're not. And if you read any of Disney's earnings report, they have been bleeding money out of those parks for a while. The food costs way more and the labor costs more. And I know I sound like I'm defending Disney here, but these parks are not profitable for them at all right now because there's been a slight decline in visitors. And why is there a decline in visitors? The prices got too high, right? And when you hike a price too high, people are going to find something else to do. And it was cheaper for my family and I to visit parks like Legoland or the Universal Studios were much cheaper than Disney.
Parks is huge as an investor for Walt Disney Parks because it's about 40% of their total revenue, but it's 2/3 or 65% of their total operating profit.
When it comes to Disney's profits, its park business plays a huge role. In Q3 2024, Disney's domestic parks brought in $5.8 billion, a 3% increase from the year prior. However, its operating income for the same period actually slid 6% year over year.
Wow.
Everything post-COVID is going through the roof because a lot of these physical venues closed for a year or two because of COVID, and now they have to make up. Also, a lot of increases in labor costs.
So 100%, anyone running a business knows that labor is the #1 highest expense item on their income statements. And when you spend more money on labor, you have to increase the prices of goods and services. At this point, why would Disney want to lower the prices, right?
Given that linear television has been disappointing Disney and everybody else in that business for the last decade, it stands to reason that Disney might have responded to that by pricing its parks a little more aggressively in order to prop up its financial results.
Over the past 10 years, the average cost for a Disney World single park ticket has inflated more than 56%, well above the national rate of inflation. And that, of course, doesn't include the cost of food, merchandise, lightning lanes, hotels, and airfare. This is Jake Williams. He's a YouTuber and travel blogger and set out this year to answer the same question.
I've watched them.
Has Disney gotten too expensive? So he went to Disney World and compared the price of a one-day trip in 2024 to that same trip in 2017.
So when we add everything up, the hotel, the park add-ons, all the food, the total cost for a single day at Disney for 2 adults came out to a jaw-dropping $886 USD. The exact same trip in 2017 would have cost a total of $567.
That's pretty insane with the Genie Plus 46, like hotel breakfast 27. They do add up. My gosh.
A $320 difference between 2 trips. That's a 44% increase in just 7 years, far outpacing inflation, which is around 24% since 2017.
Let me show you how much my family and I spent at Disney World in 2023. We spent our first day at Epcot and then our second day at Magic Kingdom. We spent $290 for 2 nights at Spring Hill Suites Orlando because we'll never stay at a Disney hotel. Sorry, they're just way too expensive. And then we spent $1,500 for 3 round-trip plane tickets from Las Vegas to Orlando. And we spent another $240 for the rental car for 3 days. And we spent another $735 for the 2-day park hopper with a veteran discount. So that was about $245 per person for 2 parks. And we spent another $357 on the Genie passes. I know we spent a lot of money on Genie passes to skip the lines, and that was worth it, I'll tell you. And we spent another $400 total just for food, and then we spent another $150 on gifts, and we spent another $150 on pictures. Yeah, they will get you with pictures. So that's about a total of $4,000 just for the 2-day park hopper, and that's between 3 people. That's about $1,300 per person if you fly from Las Vegas to Orlando to visit Disney World.
The median annual income in the United States is $74,580, meaning a family of 4 bringing in an average salary would need to pay almost an entire month's income for a multi-day trip to Disney World.
Yeah.
It continues to be a premium experience that puts pressure on the more price-sensitive cohort of customers that want to go there and struggle with the cost.
Of course, Disney isn't the only theme park to raise prices. A one-day single park ticket at Universal Studios Orlando now ranges between $119 to $179, an increase of up to $20 in just 1 year, keeping pace with Disney World's one-day ticket average of $147. And an average 3-day, 4-night trip for a family of 4 to Universal Orlando comes in at around $4,700, comparable to an even longer 5-night trip at Disney World. But while parks like Universal Studios Orlando see significantly less guests annually, it's also been able to stabilize its annual visitation post-pandemic, where Disney World in Orlando has yet to see its visitation fully recover.
Yeah, so we went to Universal Studios in Hollywood earlier this year for my daughter's spring break, and I don't know if that's entirely an accurate statement about a decline in customers. Maybe that was in 2023. If you look at Universal Studios, I just don't see a need to stay there for even 4 days at all. We could get everything done in 1 day. And they have a Super Nintendo World in Universal, and you should have seen how packed it was with all the kids. My daughter loves Mario, Peach, Bowser, and I definitely enjoy Universal probably a little more than Disney this year because of the cost. And it was like my 4th or 5th time going to Universal, so I knew my way around the park. And you really don't need to stay in Universal, again, for 4 or 5 days if you just get the unlimited Universal Express for just 1 day. Now you can literally get on every ride and skip the line every single time. And we did the Jurassic World ride probably 6 times in that 1 day because we were able to skip the line with the Universal Express pass. And if I had to choose between Universal and Disney right now, I would probably choose Universal for 1 day because I know I'm gonna get more out of it for a much cheaper price And we want to go to the one in Japan, maybe one day in the future. They have a Universal Studios too.
A recent survey of 2,000 people by LendingTree found 45% of parents with children under 18 who visited a Disney park took on debt to do so. If we broaden that out to all Disney goers, almost a quarter of all visitors take on some form of debt to visit the parks, a trend that's actually not exclusive to Disney parks. Another survey found 36% of US travelers plan to take on debt for their summer trips this year.
When I took my daughter to Disneyland for the first time, I used my Disney credit card and I ended up carrying over a balance on it because I just thought, well, why not just pay back later? That bit me in the butt later for sure. But this was like way back in 2014. You should never take out a debt to just go on any vacation. It doesn't matter if it's Disney World, Disneyland, or Universal, or Six Flags, or whatever it is. You need to have enough savings to actually afford the vacation. I know some arguments I hear is that what if I die tomorrow, or I need the memory with my kids? Well, there are so many cheaper ways to go on a vacation and not spend $5,000 or $6,000 on a Disney vacation. That's just ridiculous.
The average family with young kids is taking on a little less than $2,000 in debt, and all Disney goers who are taking on debt are taking on between $1,600 and $1,700.
For many park goers, the added debt is worth it. 59% of those who took on debt for Disney said they had no regrets, with a Disney trip falling into what some would consider good debt.
For a lot of people, the pandemic kind of changed their views on things, and they made them think of how fragile life can be. So if there's something that they want to do, whether it's going to Disney or starting a small business or anything in between, a lot of people are still saying, you know what, I'm just going to jump in. No better time than now.
I have heard of that before, and I have heard that from, my past clients, and this is still ridiculous. This is a prime example of people not practicing or just understanding delayed gratification. Look, I get it. COVID really messed with our mindset about how we should live now because we never know when our time is up. But people taking out debt for a vacation most likely have some type of debt already. And people don't typically take out a personal loan to go on a vacation. I have seen that. People have taken out like a 401k loan to go see Taylor Swift, but they most likely use a credit card and then carry over the balance. You end up paying 20, 25, or maybe even 30% in interest for every month you carry over the balance. If you have any credit card debt right now, you need to be responsible and pay that off as soon as possible.
Lately, I've found a lot of value in going on a cruise. I'm going to go on this beautiful ship, and they're going to give me all of my meals and all of my drinks, and they're going to take me to Bermuda. And I couldn't even, get into a Disney moderate resort. Forget the food, forget the tickets, on the same price as that.
If you have enough money to afford to come to the Walt Disney Parks every year, you also have a lot of other choices, so you're probably not coming every year.
And that's the problem for Disney. Catering to wealthier travelers means catering to people that often have more options when it comes to where they travel, meaning Disney parks are now competing with luxury vacation spots, places like Vail or the Bahamas, where a high-end vacation costs just a couple thousand more.
100% agreed. We're going on an Alaskan cruise next year with a total of 6 people for my mom's 70th birthday, and that's with what's called Holland America. And let me know in the comment section down below if you've ever been on one of those cruises. But that Alaskan cruise line for 7 days and 6 nights costs way less than what it would cost us all to go to Disney. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I still want to go back to Disney, but if they keep hiking their prices, I just don't see the value in them anymore. And I've been on a Disney cruise before too, and that was one of the best times of my life, going to the Bahamas on the Disney cruise. You can literally drop your food on the floor, pick it up, and eat it because that's how clean it was. Don't recommend it. Not telling you that's what you should do, but I always saw the cleaning crew on every part of the ship, and I think since COVID, they're even more careful with how the cleanliness on the ship. It was hilarious though, because there was a kid who pooped in the pool, and they had to clear everybody out for a few hours on the ship. But anyway, if you've never been on a Disney cruise, I highly recommend that you go at least once, but only if you're out of debt and responsible to pay for it with cash. And let me know in the comment section down below if you've ever been on an Alaskan cruise. I've never been, and I'm excited to go to that one.
And that's one group Disney parks are actively working not to price out: kids.
We have a $50 kids ticket. Children under 9 can come to this park for $50. We have our lowest entry point ticket is $104. And by the way, hasn't changed in 5 years.
The reality is Disney parks are still the most visited theme parks in the world, with 142 million visitors across all its parks in 2023. That leads us to the big question: does it matter? Disney is still the top global theme park operator in the world. So are rising prices enough to make a serious dent in their visitation?
One of the things that we're getting time and time again is our guest satisfaction is terrific. Our intent to return, our intent to visit. People want to come here because of the totality of what we offer and the value that we deliver.
Part of that is that there is not a breaking point, that people will continue to pay the parenthood tax that is Disney.
If people don't vote with their wallet and aren't vocal about these changes across the industry, not just Disney, across the whole travel industry, then nothing's ever going to change.
I don't think people are going to stop traveling to Disney, especially these travelers who go there for the first time. And here's something you can do to budget for your travel. And I teach my private clients this, that everyone should have a travel fund set aside. So I'm going to make this bigger here. Let's say you have a family of 4, okay? And you want to take them to Disney next year. I'm just going to say it's going to cost you $5,000, okay? And the best time to start saving money is now, about a year out, or when you're, maybe 18 months out, if you want to be that far out to start planning for things. Don't put this money in other savings accounts like emergency fund or, other savings account for down payment for your house. You need to have a standalone high yield savings account dedicated for travel. So if it's going to cost you, let's say $2,000 plane tickets, okay? And if you get paid bi-weekly or every 2 weeks, that's 26 times in a year. So if you do 2,000 divided by 26, that's going to be $77 every paycheck that goes into that travel fund. So in a year, it's going to get to $2,000. If it's going to cost you, let's say, let's say $1,000 for Disney park tickets, okay? So if you do 1,000 divided by 26, or if you get paid 24 times in a year because you get paid on the 1st and the 15th, then you can just change that to 24, and that's gonna get you what, $39 every paycheck, okay? So this is how I exactly plan for it, and that's about a year out when we plan for a big vacation. My family and I always sit down and look and see, what are we doing in 2025? And what are some trips coming up in 2026? Because I know I want to go see the World Cup in 2026. Stuff like that, right? And you should also account for like rental car, food at the park, breakfast at the hotel, gas for your transportation. If you need to set aside another, let's say, $2,000 for the miscellaneous item, that's going to be another $77, right? So a total, that's going to be $193 every paycheck. So in 12 months, that's going to get to about $5,000. Okay. So you want to start thinking that way, like, hey, we want to start planning for a travel because one of our kids is graduating middle school or high school in about a year or 2 years. We want to go on a big vacation. Okay, this is how much it's going to cost. Adjusted by inflation. We don't know how much the park tickets are going to cost by then, but rest assured it's going to keep going up. So if you set aside, let's say $200 every 2 weeks to a travel fund, then you're going to have over $5,000 in your travel fund in a year. And I've had my travel fund since 2017. And this is exactly how I reimburse myself when it comes to traveling. I haven't taken out any debt since 2014. And no kidding, I just use my travel fund to pay off my credit card. So I would use my Disney credit cards to go to Disney World to pay for pretty much everything. And then when I get home, I use the travel fund, the cash that I have in a high yield savings account, and just reimburse myself by paying off that credit card in full. Okay. And my family and I travel at least 4 times a year because we have a travel fund. We have been saving for our cruise to Alaska since the beginning of 2024. and we don't travel until the summer of 2025. That gives us, 18 months to start putting money aside to travel stateside and overseas. We want to go overseas at least once a year. And last year, we went to Oktoberfest in Germany, and that was an absolute blast. Austria was even more beautiful, and that was about 2 weeks we spent there. But anyway, there's no reason for you to go into debt to travel. Don't just say that you're gonna figure it out later. That's not a plan. If it's gonna cost you $5,000 to travel, start saving for $5,000 now. If you're in debt, pay off your debt first and then start saving for travel. Your kids will be okay if you never take them to Disney. They just want to spend time with you. You will feel so much better going on this vacation without taking out any debt. Don't forget to get your free resources at firesidechat.com/resources, or you can schedule a 60-minute consultation with me by visiting firesidechat.com/consultation. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.